Hey Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this episode of Azure This Week. In this episode, we're going to take a look at two recent public preview announcements: static website hosting for Azure Storage and zone redundant VPN and ExpressRoute gateways. We will also look at the announcement that Azure IoT Edge is now generally available, along with a number of supporting services. First up, let's take a look at the public preview of static website hosting for Azure Storage. This feature lets you host static web content, which is web content with no server-side code, on an Azure Storage account rather than using a service like Azure Web Apps, which is better suited for hosting dynamic content. To use the feature, you need to make use of a general purpose version 2 storage account, but this can be a pre-existing account. You don't need to deploy a new storage account in order to take advantage of this preview functionality. When you enable the feature, you get a new web service endpoint based on the name of the storage account, with both a primary and a secondary endpoint. You can upload static files using the REST API, Storage Explorer, or the latest version of the storage extension for VS Code. Check out this online tutorial, which steps you through setting up a completely serverless solution on Azure, incorporating static content on Azure Storage. Next, let's take a look at the public preview of zone redundancy for VPN and ExpressRoute gateways. Availability zones are physically isolated areas within an Azure region, allowing you to achieve high availability and disaster recovery within a single region, rather than needing to deploy solutions across multiple regions within the same geopolitical zone. Availability zones are being rolled out across Azure regions, and not all services support multi-zone deployment yet. You can read more about availability zones here. However, VPN and ExpressRoute gateways are now supported in preview. This means that multiple instances of the gateway are deployed in different zones within that same region. If you prefer to deploy both instances of the gateway in the same zone, this is called a zonal implementation and is also supported in preview. Zone redundant and zonal implementations are new resource SKUs, and they are not automatically available in every Azure subscription. You'll need to enroll your Azure subscriptions in order to take advantage of the preview functionality, and you can read more about zone redundant and zonal implementations right here, along with the various architecture and configuration options and instructions on how to enroll. Finally, let's take a look at the announcement that Azure IoT Edge is now generally available. We have covered IoT Edge in previous episodes of Azure This Week, and it's always really good when a technology you've been following moves from preview to GA. Sort of makes you all emotional. IoT Edge is fully open source and is available on GitHub and supports the Moby container management system, so you can deploy both Moby-based and Docker-based modules to IoT Edge devices. Managing large fleets of IoT Edge devices can become quite cumbersome, especially if you're doing it manually, so automatic device management is also now generally available, along with module identity and module twin. And that's it for Azure This Week, where we looked at the public previews of static website hosting on Azure Storage and zone redundant VPN and ExpressRoute gateways, as well as the general availability of Azure IoT Edge. Until next week, keep being awesome, Cloud Gurus.